Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. My name is Anna Kalczyńska. The recent Russian strikes killed at least 4 people and injured dozens in one of the most sustained attacks on the Ukrainian capital since the full-scale war began. As Donald Trump is about to authorize the use of long-range Tomahawk missiles in Russia, the Kremlin claims long-range missiles won't alter the front lines. To talk about it and much more, we're joined by Arseniy Yatsenyuk, former Ukrainian Prime Minister, Open Ukraine Foundation. Good evening, sir, and thank you for coming to the studio.
Thanks for having me, Anna.
Always a pleasure. So let us begin with the prospects of ending the war. Because as we just learned, Vladimir Putin signed a decree on the beginning of the autumn draft to the Russian army. As part of this draft, it is planned to recruit 135,000 people to the Russian armed forces. Yet, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Andriy Sybiha, is of this rather surprising opinion.
We want to end this war this year. And after the meeting in New York between President Zelensky and President Trump, we are really in momentum. I would be very cautious. So we got additional diplomatic dynamic for our peace efforts in a proper dimension or direction. That's important.
So do you believe that the green light on the part of U.S. administration for the use of long-range weapons inside Russia and the use of Tomahawks can force Putin to recalculate?
Well, Foreign Minister, he is right that we want to end this war this year. But here is the thing. A suspected war criminal Putin, he doesn't want to end this war. At least he wants to end the war on his terms and conditions. And his terms and conditions are very explicit. And he repeated it a number of times, which is to eliminate the root cause of this war, quote unquote. It means to annihilate and to kill Ukrainians and actually to annihilate an entire Ukraine as a state. So it is all about the way how to end the war. And you initially asked whether there is end in sight. I don't see the end in sight. I don't see light in the end of the tunnel. And there were a number of so-called negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Look, it's a sham negotiations. It has nothing to do with real negotiations. Putin always pretended that he is ready to negotiate. On your direct question, whether this can change the course of the war in case if Americans authorize, not just authorize, in case if Americans supply Ukraine with a short-range missiles, because under the international law it is a short-range missile. Because the long-range missile, it's a kind of missile like ballistic missile that can reach out to Siberia. So if Americans deliver this kind of weapon, so fingers crossed, let's wait and see. I'm quite realistic, let it put me this way, on this particular decision. This will definitely enhance Ukraine's ability to win the war. Because today I was inspired at Warsaw Security Forum that Prime Minister Tusk, he was very clear saying the word victory.
We will win this war. We will
Correct.
not let Ukraine lose.
Correct. Because, you know, it's not about popularity of the word victory. Is it fair? Is it right to say that we will just support Ukraine? We need to clearly state the aim of the war. So we need to win this war. And to win the war is to preserve Ukraine's statehood, and to preserve Ukraine as a sovereign country, and to preserve Ukrainian people. So in terms of next steps of the US administration, God knows what's going to happen. There is some kind of U-turn of President Trump in terms of at least what he speaks. So let's wait and see what's going to happen. I will pray for
Minister for Foreign Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister Radosław Sikorski says that Donald Trump likes to side with the winners. So he doesn't believe Russia is winning this war. Who knows? Maybe he's just
So if
made a
President
U-turn.
Trump wants to side with the winners, Minister Sikorsky is right because he actually reads President Trump, so he can make Ukraine to win. He has enough strength, power, ability, and capacity to make Ukraine win. So if the US administration provides an additional supplemental for Ukraine, I mean security supplemental, and if the President of the United States decides really to deliver on his promises to make Ukraine a winning state, he can do it. It's up to him.
He even went further, saying that Ukraine can regain the territories that it's lost during the war. Do you think that is realistic?
Well, let me put it this way. Nobody believed that Ukraine can withstand the Russian army armed to the teeth with the nukes. Russia waged the war against Ukraine not 3.5 years ago. Let me remind to your viewers that I was the first wartime prime minister of Ukraine back in 2014, when Russia illegally annexed Crimea and sent its troops to the eastern part of Ukraine. So Putin didn't manage to occupy Ukraine for 11 years. This was his ultimate goal. And it is still his ultimate goal. I want to be very clear. Putin hasn't changed his aim. Putin hasn't changed his target. So he still wants to take over Ukraine and he wants to restore the Soviet Union. And today he got another blow. Elections in Moldova.
Exactly so. That is correct. So Leonid Slotsky, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Russia's lower house of parliament, dismissed Maya Sandu's victory as Pyrrhic one. That's are his words. As a result of these elections, Moldova will become even more divided, he warned. And Sandu's regime is leading Moldova down the path of Ukraine. Do you believe that the EU will now accelerate the process of enlargement and will take on board Moldova sooner, taking the lesson from Ukraine?
You know, this Russian guy, he doesn't deserve to be quoted by such a prominent journalist as you. But I do understand that you adhere to the freedom of speech, and they adhere to the freedom of lie, you know? That's what Putin is doing. That's what contemporary Ribbentrop Lavrov is doing, and that's all these crazy Russian lunatics are always doing. It's a barefaced lie. That's what they are actually disseminating all over the world.
No, it's pathetic, even in the light of this great victory of Maya Sandu.
Yeah, and, they didn't expect this kind of turnaround. They didn't expect this kind of very strong and bold support of the pro-European forces in Moldova. Here is the thing. Putin believed that Sandu and pro-European forces will fail. And this would pave the way for Putin for the restoration of the Soviet Empire. He desperately needs Moldova. He has already Belarus, which is no longer an independent state. It's a subsidiary of the Russian Federation and of Kremlin. So he wants to take over Ukraine. And Moldova actually is the last piece of this puzzle, how to restore Soviets. And he has faced a backlash from the Moldovan people.
That is true.
The same type of backlash that we faced from Ukrainians. But Ukrainians are fighting like hell.
However, I must quote Volodymyr Zelensky, who says that...
That's good. So you can quote my president.
Of course, President Zelensky. Although I wouldn't like to quote him in this angle. However, he unfortunately predicts that Putin is about to open another front this year. He wants to have a second front, even before ending the war in Ukraine. Do you believe that is possible?
Well, I don't want
I know I'm asking an economist, not a military general, but still.
Look, I don't want to be presented as a hawk or warmonger, but we are living in a completely different reality. Putin, we are not fighting, I mean, neither NATO nor the free world is not fighting with Russia. Russia is fighting with NATO, Russia is fighting against the free world. So he already started this hybrid World War III. With the incursion of drones into Poland, with the fighter jets in Estonia, with the drones in Denmark and in another Nordic and Baltic states, with the political assassinations all over Europe, with the different types of terrorist attacks all over Europe, with the sabotage attacks all over Europe, with the support of crazy anti-European far rights, and other political forces, with the huge overwhelming corruption all over the European Union and the entire free world. So Putin's regime is at the state of war with the free world. Putin is not the only one. He's under the umbrella, which is made in China. And we have to be very clear about that as of now, we are in the state of war, of dictatorship against the free world, against the democracy.
Prime Minister, another important factor as well, an angle to touch upon. The German the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who has another idea of how to finance the Ukraine war effort by seizing the assets, the Russian assets, and he has two options. The cash balances of the asset could be used to buy zero-interest rate EU bonds, and another one, a special purpose vehicle to manage funding arrangement, which may allow non-EU countries to get involved in this mechanism. Do you think this is feasible? Do you see it happen?
Well, last year I published an article together with Larry Summers, Bob Zelikov and Robert Zelik in the Financial Times, actually providing a legal background why it is feasible, not just to seize, but to confiscate Russian assets. So we have plenty of legal options how to do it. It is not about the legality. Because it's crystal clear that Russia completely violated an international law as Russia started the war of aggression. So it is Russia who is responsible for this kind of illegal activity. And we have countermeasures. And the countermeasure is to seize and confiscate Russian assets. As you already indicated, there are a number of legal ways how to seize assets, and SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, is one of it. It's all about justice. Justice has to be served, including the seizing of the Russian assets.
Thank you so much. Indeed, it should be served. We will see how it evolves. Lately, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has opposed this mechanism. But
yeah,
we shall see.
I've heard the story and I commented this in France. I just came back from Paris.
Thank you so much, Arseniy Yatsenyuk, former Ukrainian Prime Minister. Open Ukraine Foundation today. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękujemy bardzo. And thank you for watching World Talks here on TVP World. Please stay tuned.